The second night of the miniseries is remarkable in that, rather than having a drop-off from the previous episode, the audience figures actually rose. The show had received a lot of negative word of mouth from fans of the original series prior to airing, and it's understandable if you keep the flame for a couple of decades only to find your beloved series is going to throw everything you cared about out and be reborn as something else. You're going to be a little upset. The word fan originates from fanatic, after all. But what the numbers do show is that word of mouth had convinced either old fans to give it a chance or entirely new viewers to start tuning in. Either way, this helped get the ball rolling for the series. Part 2 opens directly from where it had left off, in the CIC, blanketed by complete silence. It lasts until finally Adama breaks it, ordering them to continue jump prep. When Starbuck shows up, all business as usual, she learns about everything that happened since that missile hit. She takes it like it's a strike between the eyes, momentarily stunned, but then back to business. In a little while, though, we see her with a picture of her, Zach, her fiancé and Apollo's dead brother, and Apollo himself, and she offers up a prayer for him. Prayer is just about the only time she stops swearing. The rest of the crew is getting down to business for the jump. It's so important they close up the launch bays so that, I guess, they can open them up again. Since as the ship jumps, well, there they are. But Gaeta does such an awesome job with the jump that they arrive with the bays closed up again. He's just that good. Actually, the purpose of all this was to establish that the Galactica can't jump with those doors open, which will be important later on. They hook up with the Ragnar anchorage to rearm. It's located inside this storm to help protect it from the Cylons. Well, this plan is so effective that, when they get inside, there's a Cylon waiting for them. Whoever's responsible for this probably went on to do security work for PlayStation Network. Don't worry, sir. No unauthorized people will ever get in here. Turns out everyone's grieving for nothing. We soon see Rosalind's ship, Colonial 1, intact along with the rest of her small fleet. Everyone's sprawled about like this is the best end-of-the-world party ever, but it's actually thanks to Lee, who used those devices from Galactica to send out an EMP to disable the warheads, while also making it look like they had all exploded, thus saving Rosalind and the ship from her bad choices. We'll get back to that later. Meanwhile, Boomer's Raptor is still looking for a ship to rendezvous with that's not likely to blast them to bits. Baltar's stewing in the back when he again spots Six. You might think it's because he's probably gone at least a few hours without sex and thus is going through withdrawal. That might explain why you saw her outside before he left. Once you've had sex with a machine, you never go back, baby. Well, can't really do anything about this now, Baltar. There's kids in here, and the judge was clear never to try anything like that again. But it turns out it's not a perverted fantasy, because even though she's dressed quite seductively, her words aren't the sexy ones he was probably hoping for. They finally arrive on board Colonial 1. Hey, Baltar, pretty hot-looking forklift back there, huh? Gonna make moves on that dirty, dirty girl? With Boomer and her Raptor, President Rosalind figures this could probably help bring in other civilian ships in the area so they could try to form a convoy and get the hell out of the war zone. As for Baltar...
Doctor, I need you to serve as my chief scientific consultant and analyst regarding the Cylons and their technology.
Why me? I don't have anything to do with the Cylons, and I definitely would not have sex with that forklift. He gets to work, but Six is back again, and try as he might not to think with his dick, she won't go away.
No!
Yes, the fate of humanity is in his hands. Let's just hope he washed them first. No, I wasn't doing anything. There was just this Cylon in here that's invisible to everyone else. Ah, hologram that only you can see and hear, right? I guess that means Dean Stockwell's a Cylon too, huh? Back on the station, the chief's having a really bad day. They don't know the Cylons can look human, so they take this guy at his word, that he's just a gun runner ignorant of the whole war thing. Unfortunately for that guy, Tyrrell has watched 80-plus people under his command die at the words of a guy who looks like a drunken John McCain, so the chief's about 2 seconds away from shooting the guy in lieu of a stress ball. So the gun runner has no choice but to surrender. He's kept loosely under guard as Adama comes over to get more info. Adama's having trouble buying his story.
So you're an arms dealer, huh? People have a right to protect themselves?
Absolutely. Except A, that doesn't mean you can just steal weapons for your business. And B, that's a nuclear warhead you're pointing at. Nukes are only defensive weapons as a deterrent. Unless you're in some kind of arms race with the Johnsons, it's not very useful for home defense. Before this discussion can continue, there's an accident, and Adama and the arms merchant are sealed in another part of the station. Adama will try to find a way around rather than wasting time trying to cut through this mess.
Tell Colonel Ty he's in command until I return.
Yes, sir.
And so the entire colonial fleet is now in the hands of a man who believes the 4 food groups are rye, malt, olives, and toothpaste. The little civilian fleet is growing, and President Roslin is meeting with a botanical ship to discuss their needs so they can get this fleet underway. While there, she comes across an adorable little girl with a big rag doll, who even mispronounces Caprica in a cute way. If you're in any way familiar with the grim approach of this show, then you know she's just wearing a huge sign saying, "Please shoot me, Mr. Cylons!" with big backwards letters here and there to be all cute. Yep, good news never lasts long here. When Boomer's returned, she's got a refinery ship to fuel them all up, but we're told that it won't matter for some because a third of the fleet can't make jumps. They'll need to transfer people off those ships and onto the rest. Well, cue the arrival of a Cylon raider on a scouting mission, meaning there's no time for that now. Lee makes it clear that leaving right now is the only option militarily. They're clustered together. Just a few nukes can wipe out the entire fleet with only seconds' warning.
We can't just leave them all behind. You'll be sacrificing thousands of people.
But we'll be saving tens of thousands. I'm sorry to make it a numbers game, but we're talking about the survival of our race here. And we don't have the luxury of taking risks and hoping for the best, because if we lose everything.
Remember Rosalind's decision before the cliffhanger to stay rather than leave? The decision that only worked because Lee pulled a solution out of his ass? Well, Ron Moore has since admitted that Rosalind's decision to stay, combined with a lack of follow-up, was a screw-up on his part as a writer. That he felt it was necessary for her to show her resolve in sticking with her fleet rather than abandoning it. But he recognizes that it was a mistake to not call Rosalind's character out on the mistake in the show. If at some point following the resolution of the crisis, Laura realized that she let her emotional reaction to the situation lead her into making a bad decision, which was only saved by the providential intervention of Lee, then the scene would have accomplished everything I had hoped for in the moment, as well as providing Laura with a character-building scene where the new president's first major decision nearly got them all killed. It would have been a way to both emphasize her fallibility and the fact that she can't afford to lead with her heart any longer. Her subsequent decision to leave the sublight ships behind, abandoning them to their destruction by the Cylons, would have also been informed by this experience and had a richer, even more textured component to it. So one way of interpreting this is that Rosalind reacted based upon her gut feelings rather than with the detachment a leader may need to call upon to save her people, that she recognized that she had gambled with the future of the human race, and that she can't make the same mistake twice. As she gives the order, she confesses that she probably has fatal cancer, and admits that despite the situation, it's all she can think about. All told, I'm a bit more understanding of someone who can't stop thinking about their fatal disease than someone who can't stop thinking about how this is going to hurt them at the polls. Lee is proven right as the Cylons show up just as they're preparing to jump, and as soon as they jump, the Cylons let loose with a barrage of missiles, and little ragdoll girl won't be making it. At least it just tastefully fades to white in silence. But keep this in mind if you ever start to feel sorry for this guy with Adama, complaining about his allergies bothering him in here. He starts waxing philosophically about whether or not humanity had this coming, and whether God had chosen the Cylons over mankind. Adama's a career soldier, though, and declares it all bullshit. When he'd spoken before about the question of why we deserve to survive, the implication was not that we should just be wiped out, but rather that we should justify our existence. Not like that, but by our actions. Ty's busy handling things in CIC. Look at this, when you squint at the paper, it looks like a pair of boobs. The president's convoy arrives, scaring the crap out of them, but congratulations at their survival quickly sours. See, Ty is more concerned about getting this ship ready to return to the fight, while Rosalind thinks the war's already been lost, just because the human race teeters on the verge of extinction and has only one warship left versus an entire Cylon fleet. Another civilian who thinks they know everything, huh? Lee gets Ty to grudgingly give up some disaster pods to help the refugees, but that's it. As far as Galactica is concerned, the war is still on. We may be outnumbered 1,000,000 to 1, but it's still on. There's numerous little bits of humanity that play out, though, like Boomer's reunion with the Chief, or Dwala, who had to put up with Billy's bumbling earlier, responding to the sight of him with a kiss, probably just for the simple human connection. You know, if you feel like sharing, Billy, I wouldn't say no to a kiss. 36 hours since I last had sex. I'm afraid my pants will catch fire. Lee and Starbuck meet up and provide enough sexual tension to bend light. All in all, though, things finally seem to be looking up. Can you build me a robot dog?